Hey, it's Josh Vergara. What's going on, everybody? We are here on the Pixel 10 Pro, and I'm going to give you a week one perspective on this, which means that I'm not going to be like super comprehensive as to all of the different features and testing and whatnot on here, but I am trying out some of the things that Google touted at their Made by Google event. And while I do have the 10 Pro XL and the regular 10, I wanted to go for something kind of in the middle with the Pro features, but the smaller form factor. Just makes life a little bit easier while still keeping all of the features that I might want. I am actually back in New York City, out here in the East Village for another little event, and it gives me the opportunity to be able to use this phone a little bit more and get some really nice photos and videos while running around. There are a few different ways that I might be able to do that, and those are opened up by the fact that Pixel Snap is on here. As you saw earlier, as I made my morning latte, my hojicha latte, that I was using a little tripod that supported MagSafe and thus supports these pixels. That's right, the latest Pixel smartphones are here, and I've been using specifically the Pixel 10 Pro for about a week now, shortly after the star-studded Made by Google event back in New York City. Now, you know me, my favorite colors are yellow and green, and I've basically received all of the green bar-style phones because of that, and that means a Jade version for the Pro and the Pro XL. Aside from the different colors, there are a couple of other ways to distinguish these new 10th generation Pixels. First off, the lack of a SIM tray here in the US means that these phones are now all eSIM all the time. For me, a Google Fi customer, setup is pretty easy though. Just download the app on Wi-Fi and it'll get all of the eSIM goodness installed and activated while signing in. Now, I know that there are people who will lament the loss of the SIM tray, and that was the case for me until Google Fi started supporting data-only eSIMs, which makes it easier for me to have phones across multiple platforms and ecosystems and not lose out on connectivity. But for now, the Pixel 10 Pro will be my home base for a full eSIM for calls and SMS, but those two things I will admit get used much less than anything running on data. With all of that said, the general setup and familiarization with the phone and its new features took up the first couple of days, and let me tell you, in the initial setup there are quite a few pages asking for activation or permission of some sort of feature, more than ever before, and that includes things like the Magic Key, which is new to these phones, and also the Now Playing feature that identifies songs and shows it down here on the bottom of the lock screen. So yes, there's a lot to talk about with the Pixel 10 Pro and the other Pixels, and all of it will be part of the discussion over continued video coverage here on my channel. So allow me to thank you for coming to hang out with me in this video as Pixel content starts flooding your feed. And let me remind you that you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you know when future videos are released. But for now, here are some of the main points that I want to talk about after 1 week with the Pixel 10 Pro. The other way that you can tell these new Pixels from last year's models is when something literally sticks to the back. Yeah, you're going to hear about this feature a lot because when it comes to the new Pixels, it's one of the best new developments. Pixel Snap brings compatibility not just to accessories that decide to sport the name, but also to accessories that have been sporting the name MagSafe for years now. I have to admit, I enjoyed how during the event, the Googlers and Jimmy Fallon made a joke about evoking the A word. Apple, sure, that was the whole point, but the joke was that they said the word accessories. The thing is, I'm not convinced they were fully joking because honestly, the level of accessorizing that is now afforded the Pixel lineup is a huge deal. Because while in the past, using a MagSafe attachment required some sort of case or sticker that added those magnets, now it's all just built right in. The result has been me happily taking out some MagSafe accessories and using them to get this very video done. From a tripod that hooks to the side of a table for easy overhead shots like the ones you saw when I made the hojicha latte in the intro, to a simple but effective O-Snap for a little better handling and a grip, and of course, a little kickstand, like right there. It helps that this O-Snap actually matches the whole green motif of my phone. By the way, if you're interested in any of the items that I just mentioned, I'll go ahead and leave some links in the description for you to check them out. Honestly, this all really goes to show that while all of the AI and software features are clearly a focus of yearly release cycles these days, a hardware change is a surefire way to get some genuine buzz. I've heard from multiple peers and colleagues that Pixel Snap might be their main story with the new Pixels, and you know what? I really don't blame them. Let me tell you, the plan is to get some Cat's Deli for dinner later, but man, did you see that line? It's pretty wild. Now, naturally, after the initial setup, it's all about getting my usual apps downloaded and signed in, and things are pretty dialed in for me at this point. Social media for posting and doom scrolling, Trello and Google Workspace apps for project management, Telegram and Messenger, and a slew of games that I'll probably never fully finish. Usually for me, personalizing the phone I'm using tends to come a little bit later, and I'll just go ahead and say that after this first week or two, I'll probably get Niagara Launcher on here so that I can do my full screen video wallpapers again like before. But that's not to say Android's new coat of paint isn't worth enjoying, because it really is. I notice an inviting energy coming from Material 3 Expressive, from the subtle movements of elements around what I'm interacting with to straight up overhauls of what certain pages look like. I do really enjoy this big button look of all of the quick settings over here, and then of course down here in the bottom corner is the actual settings button, which takes me to the overhauled settings page that includes a search bar where when you search for a certain thing you want to toggle, it actually doesn't take you to that page anymore. You could just toggle it right from that search. Also, screensavers and big clocks while charging are appreciated and will definitely be used during Qi 2 Pixel Snap charging. All of this to say, so far, Android 16 is feeling like a really good time, and many of the changes made to the general aesthetic help make the Pixel feel fresher, a little fresher, especially since the outside of the phone remains arguably far too familiar. Now, of course, Gemini has to be part of the conversation, and notice that I'm using the word Gemini instead of the catch-all term of AI this time. Those two letters are all over the place now, but when it comes to these pixels, I think that the influence of Gemini on various app experiences is becoming more and more apparent. Take the Magic Queue, for example. When using certain apps like Google Messages and the phone, the feature will proactively search through available information like the business you might be calling, or certain details from the most recent messages, and try to suggest helpful tasks and queues that will support the scenario. Here's the thing, I don't actually use Google Messages as much as apps like Telegram or Facebook Messenger, so I haven't actually gotten the benefits of Magic Queue in that way. But on the flip side, phone calls to a few different businesses prompted me to do a call recording and transcription within the usual dead space that's found in the middle, which is nice. The resulting transcription gave me notes that I could refer back to in case I needed to come to a situation with receipts, in this case, both literally and figuratively. The thing is, this is already all information and data that Gemini would ask you for if you requested its help in doing any of these tasks. It's just that now Google is giving it the room to be really proactive in suggesting these same tasks so that multiple steps leading up to the result are minimized or straight up eliminated. For example, go over to the Google Photos app, and while the search bar can still be typed into, now there's a whole new page that just invites you to ask for what you want. It's like pressing the Gemini button in the web version of Google Photos. Ever thought of uploading a photo to Gemini so you can do a little bit of that generative magic on it? Well, now you can literally ask the Pixel and the Photos app what changes you want to do, and the AI will figure it out and execute. And ever since my first hands-on with this phone, it seems to me now more than ever that the Pixels are a conduit for Gemini. That probably sounds obvious, but all of this is added on top of the features I actively use, like Circle to Search, which I'm starting to utilize as a way of copying text in any app when tapping and holding that text and trying to select it can take a little longer. There's another place that I want to mention some of the Gemini influence, and that's with a new app that I have right here on the front screen that Google put out in these pixels. Journal. Okay, as someone with an on-again, off-again relationship with journaling, I will say, I think it's a good habit to have overall. Often the issue is making the time to journal or finding the methodology that works best for you. But another problem some people might have with journaling is that they just don't know what to write or reflect on. Well, here comes Gemini to give prompts based on recent activity with the phone or via generated questions and insights that might spark a little something in the writer to start typing away. I'm a little bit conflicted with this approach. On the one hand, it doesn't bother me because I usually just use a 5-minute journal format to keep things simple, and thus I don't have to think too hard, so journaling is not that difficult for me as long as I make the time to do it. But then again, having a blank page is supposed to be where you just let your brain pump blood and thoughts until something stirs within you. Or honestly, there's merit to just having a page to dump any at all thoughts out without any rhyme or reason, or in some cases even language. You're just trying to get stuff out of your head. You can certainly still do all of these things with the Journal app, and it will all live in that app because so far, this early iteration doesn't seem to have any advanced features beyond just having text or attachments on a page. Overall, it just feels like a bare bones app. But it's really how these prompts and the Gemini suggestions feel a bit too, well, suggestive. Call this a heavy-handed way of looking at it, but when journaling is meant to explore how I feel about something, even a little nudge in a certain direction feels like Gemini is almost telling me how I should feel. For the most part, I'm okay with it. A prompt can turn into a deeply personal deep dive, but I can see why articles pontificating all the implications behind this have started to pop up on my home screen feed. In general, the Pixel 10 Pro has been giving me exactly what I need in terms of performance. The Tensor G5 feels competent enough for multitasking and some gaming, even though I haven't really gotten back into more demanding titles like Zenless Zone Zero or Persona 5 The Phantom X. More than anything, I watch YouTube videos, or I have them playing in the background, so there is usually something running almost at any given point. Perhaps that's the reason why I actually started to feel like the phone was getting a bit too warm during my flight here to NYC. It was nothing too alarming, but definitely noticeable. I do want to see if those bigger mobile game titles can keep performance in longer play sessions, and if the Tensor G5 can handle some emulation, since that's something I've been doing more and more lately as well. When it comes to battery life, I'm basically getting what I expect, considering I tend to have something playing on the phone or in the background most of the time. More so than ever before, because the speakers on the Pixel 10 Pro actually got upgraded. The thing is, down here without a physical SIM tray, there's now symmetrical speaker meshes, but sound is only coming out of the one on the right if you're looking at the screen facing up. That's kind of weird, the fact that nothing is coming out of here. Maybe we could have just put a little speaker here just to add more to the sound. I don't know. As per usual, camera usage seems to be the main way for me to drain the battery quick, so there's no surprise there. So let's talk cameras. You get a 50 megapixel main and a duo of 48 megapixel sensors on the ultra-wide and the telephoto. The front-facing camera is a 42 megapixel shooter capable of 4K video recording, which is why you've seen me use it from time to time on this video. Now again, it's all about helping you out in the world of Pixel. Camera Coach is something I don't find myself trying a lot so far, probably because I think I know what I'm doing as a seasoned picture taker already. But with all of that said, it might be something that I decide to tap once in a while, simply because there might be something that I'm missing. That's because, like I said in a previous point, it feels the same as feeding the screen or the perspective picture into Gemini and asking, what can I do with this? And getting a number of suggestions as a result. For just the nice scene that's behind me, if this curtain was open, here in the hotel room, Camera Coach actually noticed multiple potential scenes. You can frame the whole thing, or maybe hone into my luggage items, or focus on the brick building that is across the street, coming through the shade on the window. If anything, it's always kind of impressive what all this AI processing can parse out of something it's given, and maybe sometimes that will lead to something I would be interested in capturing that did not come to mind. I'll call that helpful, I just don't know how often I would ask for it. And so far, pictures and videos are satisfying from the Pixel 10 Pro, helped along by the fact that it's easier to put the phone in more places because of Pixel Snap. There's no surprise there, especially for those of you who might already live this life with iPhones and MagSafe. But it's helpful all the same, and then you get all of the software help that makes sure that even difficult shooting conditions can come out looking halfway decent. That's just the Pixel way. Now that includes when zooming super far thanks to ProRes Zoom. It's on the Pro models that you can get all the way to 100x. That blurry and almost watercolory result gets fed into the same AI processing, and it basically tries to figure out what it's looking at, followed by its own sharpening and filling things in. When it works, it's impressive, and so far I haven't really seen particularly terrible results, but I know that some testers have seen some weird results, like text being drastically changed up, or the AI just messing up what seems like obvious choices it should be making. If anything, it's still interesting to see what it'll try to do. Another feature I used during this week one is Video Boost, which I legitimately used to get a video while in a moving car of the New York City skyline. When I took this first video without Boost on, I was still pretty impressed with the pixel stabilization, which I often am. Slower shutter speeds meant that the shakiness still showed up as motion blur, but at least the overall frame managed to stay fairly steady. Then, with Boost on, with a second recording, the raw video turned into a noisy mess, but Google was going to address that once the video was uploaded via Photos. The result is actually kind of impressive, even if I can tell that there's some real post-processing work being put into it. But hey, if the results are good, that extra bit of support is certainly appreciated. It's a bit of a cliche now with Google and their Pixels, but it's true. These phones find a lot of ways to be helpful. In my week one with the Pixel 10 Pro, I have definitely felt that in multiple ways, and I have to give the phone props for that. Many of the features are only found on Pixels, which really separates these phones from the rest as proper everyday companions. Now, whether or not you want that much help in your daily life or tasks is up to you, but make no mistake, Gemini is here in way more ways than just holding the power button or swiping up from a bottom corner. Of course, Gemini is not perfect, as there are times when a search result is better handled by a Google voice search or just a straight up Google search instead. That's the reason why the Google search bar is still there on the bottom. It's not going anywhere. But Gemini's presence is certainly felt in more places than ever now, and the Pixel 10 Pro shows that this is the way moving forward for these phones, by making sure that in all aspects there is always that extra helping hand. And so, there you have it. Plenty of perspective on my Pixel 10 Pro in my first week with the phone. I'm enjoying my time so far, probably mainly due to Pixel Snap, but it's a hardware feature that helps enable all of the software and AI support that Google is clearly focusing on. And I think that's a pretty good enough balance that makes the Pixel feel newer than it might look. Let me know your thoughts on the Pixel 10 Pro and the whole new Pixel lineup in the comments, and look forward to when I get further videos out by subscribing to my channel. Hit that like button so I know you like these week 1 videos and I'll do more. From there though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for kicking it with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody. I gotta go make some tea.